Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Welcome back to the Through the Ages series on the Paladin. Today we are taking a look at the D&D Essentials Paladin. So we've only got a couple versions of the class left to look at after this. So we're getting into the home stretch now, and the other two videos should be coming out a lot sooner than what the gap was between 4th edition and the Essentials Paladin. And I will be putting up a poll. By the time this video goes up, it should be available to vote on what the next class is that I should take a look at in this Through the Ages series. But today we are taking a look, like I said, at the Paladin from D&D Essentials. So this was the sort of the rebranding of the D&D 4th edition system. It rebalanced and retooled some things, and it did make character creation a little more streamlined and simplified, with the character classes now having very strong specific themes to them, rather than just having a whole slew of abilities that you have to string together yourself to try to create a theme. These ones have a very strong sense of theme to them. So let's just take a look here at the Paladin class. By the way, this is Heroes of the Forgotten Kingdoms. This was the second of the player's book to come out. The first one had the cleric, the fighter, the thief, and the wizard. This one has druids, paladins, rangers, and warlocks. So they do kind of cover a lot of the same bases there. So the druid is sort of your divine spellcaster. The paladin is kind of your fighter here. The ranger is more skill-based or dex-based type of character, and the warlock is kind of your arcane style character there. But let's take a look at, like I said, the Paladin class. Which comes after the druid. So here we have the Paladin, and the Paladin build in this particular book is the Cavalier. Now, this is actually really, really cool. I like this a lot because it's a throwback to when Paladins were a subclass of the Cavalier using the Unearthed Arcana book for 1st edition AD&D. So I know a lot of people like to rag on 4th edition as abandoning all of these like D&D traditions, but there were a lot of like love letter type things, some good references to older versions of D&D sprinkled throughout 4th edition, and having the Cavalier be one of them, I thought was really, really cool. This character is a divine defender, so you are a warrior of virtue, a champion of the righteous, and defender of the weak. With your sword and your faith, you will shield the world from evil. Why this class is for you? You like playing heroic paradigm of honor and justice. And for the Cavalier, their key attributes are going to be strength and charisma. It reads, a Cavalier is a paladin who has embraced one of the heroic virtues, such as compassion, justice, sacrifice, or valor. His or her belief in this virtue is so strong that it manifests as divine magic. Although many Cavaliers pledge their faith in the gods, others follow no specific religion. Regardless of one's divine affiliation or lack thereof, a Cavalier's virtue stands paramount. It guides his or her activities, pointing to the best way to protect that ever-flickering light of hope and civilization in the world. So that's really kind of cool. The Paladins are built around these divine virtues, and we'll take a look at them a little bit later on. I think they're listed at the back of the Paladin class, but just some more specifics for them here for the 4th edition Essentials version. So they get their hit points. They start with hit points equal to 15 plus their con score, not modifier, and they gain 6 hit points each time they gain a level. They get +1 to all 3 of their defenses. They get 10 healing surges plus their con modifier. Armor proficiencies, they're proficient in cloth, leather, hide, chainmail, scale, plate, light shield, and heavy shield. Simple melee, military melee, simple range, military range. Their implement is holy symbols, and their class skills they can choose from are athletics, diplomacy, endurance, heal, history, insight, intimidate, religion. And they get to choose 4 from the list of class skills. Now, they do give a little bit of information here for the Paladin. So the virtues that they provide in this book are sacrifice and valor, although I do believe there were more that were introduced in some of the later like Heroes of books that came out for like after the D&D Essentials line had finished their like box sets and sort of pocket edition versions. So the sacrifice virtue, the Cavalier sacrifice, gives up his or her own safety to shield others from harm. Such paladins shoulder injuries to keep comrades unharmed and compels enemies to strike him or her first, rather than the paladin's allies. By invoking divine magic, such cavaliers can sacrifice their vitality and strength to protect those who are weaker, and they do so gladly. Page 140 for the features and powers associated with the virtue of sacrifice. And then for Valor, a Cavalier of Valor focuses on martial prowess and aggressive attacks against enemies. He or she brings the fight to foes, protecting allies by forcing enemies to respond to divine attacks. The virtue of Valor emphasizes unflinching bravery in the face of a powerful enemy, and Bard stories are filled with tales of Cavaliers of Valor who lived up to the name, riding out to challenge dragons, demon lords, and other mighty champions of evil. This is the fate you willingly embrace. And the abilities are on page 143. So we'll take a look at both of those. And again, this just gives you some advice on creating different types of these Cavalier Paladins. Some of the popular, or some of the races to choose from this particular book. So if you want to make a Dragonborn or a Half-Elf Paladin, that gives you some information for that as well. You are not confined to those. It's just some suggestions. The same thing with their ability scores. So they recommend strength as your highest, charisma probably as your second highest, and then a good constitution score is important as well. And then the others you can sort of determine amongst yourselves. But that's pretty solid advice here. Now, again, with the abilities, I'm not necessarily going to be going through everything that they get because they get a lot of different abilities. We will be taking a look at their level 1 and 2 abilities as well as their virtues, and we might hit a couple of higher level abilities as we go through here. So when it talks about their equipment, the weapons that they recommend are the longsword or the battle axe. Depending on what type of character that you want to make. Again, you're not required to take either of those. It's just suggestions for the equipment. Defenses and the hit points, the final details, and then we get our list of abilities here. So let's take a look here. And again, you will also get abilities from your virtue as well. So there's going to be a little bit more here that you can kind of see depending on the virtue that you choose. But all paladins will get the Defender aura. So it says, or reads here, you are a Cavalier, a bulwark of protection to your allies. You gain the Defender aura. So it is an aura that you activate in Aura 1, which means that it radiates out from you in 1 square or 5 feet in all directions. So basically if you're using a grid, it would be every square adjacent to you. That lasts until you end it as a minor action or you fall unconscious. While in the aura, any enemy takes a -2 penalty on attack rolls when it makes an attack that does not include you among its targets. Either you or an ally of yours who has the aura active. Marked enemies are not subject to this aura. So some characters have an ability to mark a target, and it kind of bestows the same types of penalties. If they don't attack the person who marked them, then they get negatives on their attack roll. So it's kind of a similar thing. But yeah, an aura that basically draws attacks from your allies to the paladin, which is one of the things that, they're kind of known for with that sort of self-sacrificial type of thing here. Then we got the Holy Smite. This is an encounter ability. I don't think the paladins get any daily abilities aside from their utilities. Oh, they might get a couple of dailies. I know the fighters didn't get daily abilities in the rebrand of D&D Essentials, but the Paladin using some magical abilities, I guess it makes sense they get it. But yeah, the Holy Smite, your weapon fills with divine radiant energy which bursts forth as you strike your enemy. It's a free action. The trigger is you attack or you target an enemy with an at-will weapon attack power. And again, for the Paladin, a lot of what they're going to do is going to be a basic attack, like a basic melee strike or a basic ranged attack. So for this, you just have to target them with a at-will attack power, be it basic melee, basic range, or some of the other abilities that they might get from their virtues. So the effect is the target takes radiant damage equal to 2 plus your charisma modifier. If the triggering attack hits, the target is also dazed until the end of your next turn. At level 7, it goes up to 4 plus charisma modifier. At level 17, it goes up to 7 plus charisma modifier. And at level 27, it goes up to 10 plus your charisma modifier. And again, this is sort of an evolution of the smite ability. But the thing that I like about it is it's an encounter ability. So effectively, you can get this off in every single fight that you take part in during the course of an adventuring day, as opposed to being limited to like once, twice, or up to like 5 or 6 times a day at like 20th or maximum level in like 3rd edition D&D. Here, you do get this every attack, and the target takes the damage when you hit with they just take the damage, I think, actually. And then if the attack hits, there's an additional modifier on that as well. So while the damage doesn't seem like a lot, they're taking that damage regardless of whether you hit or not. But if you do hit, then there's the added benefit of dazing the target until the end of your next turn. At level 1, they also get Righteous Radiance. So the power of your virtue emanates from you like a beacon to your foes, letting them know that they face a formidable opponent. You punish these enemies who refuse to fight you. You gain the Righteous Radiance power. So Righteous Radiance is an at-will ability. It is a paladin attack. It is not a weapon attack. And it is an opportunity action, meaning that you can do it an unlimited number of times, but it is contingent on a specific trigger, which is an enemy subject to your defender aura either shifts or make an attack that targets an ally of yours, but not you or an ally who has an active defender aura. So basically, if they're in your aura and they attack somebody that isn't you or another paladin with the same aura active, then you get this reaction. So the target is the triggering enemy. The target takes radiant damage equal to 3 plus your charisma modifier, which goes up to 6 plus charisma modifier at level 11, and then 9 plus charisma modifier, radiant damage at level 21. And again, this is just damage that they take. There's no attack roll. There's no saving throws are different in 4th edition anyway. It's just something that happens. So again, if they don't target the paladin when they're in the paladin's aura, then they can just start like taking damage, taking penalties to the point where, the enemies will probably stop doing that and will focus solely on the paladin after that. But again, that's kind of what the paladin wants. At level 1, they also get the Righteous Shield. You are a beacon of hope and inspiration in the darkest battlefield. Using the divine magic you command, you sacrifice a small portion of your vitality to shield an ally from harm using a burst of divine power. So this is a utility power that you get as an encounter power at level 1. And there's not a ton of utility powers that characters get at level 1. So the Paladin is a little bit different that way. It is an immediate interrupt, meaning that it takes place immediately and it interrupts or supersedes the triggering event. So the trigger is an ally within 3 squares of you or within 15 feet of you is damaged by an attack. So the target is the ally within that burst. So it's a close burst 3, meaning that it goes out 3 squares from the paladin in all directions, or 15 feet in all directions if you want to do that as well. It's really easy to convert from squares to feet in 4th edition. I know people will tell you that it's not, but it really is that simple. The effect is you take the damage of the triggering attack instead of the target. This damage ignores your immunities and resistances. So if you were resistant to fire, for example, and your ally took fire damage, you wouldn't be able to use this ability to take that damage and then reduce it with your fire resistance. If you're triggering this ability, then you are taking the full amount of damage, regardless of what protections you might normally have in place. And in addition, you gain a +2 power bonus to attack rolls until the end of your next turn. So you do take the damage for them, so they take nothing, you take the full amount, but you also do get a little bit of a buff there as well on your reciprocating attack. So then we've got level 1, Spirit of Virtue. So when you choose a virtue to embody, you not only pick a path that you swear to adhere to, but also become a symbol of that virtue to all who come into contact with you. It isn't an easy path, but the strength of your devotion gives you divine power to help on your journey, and the benefit is dependent on which one you choose. So again, that we'll take a look at those here in a little bit. And then at level 1, you also get Valiant Strike. So secure in your virtue, you embrace your role as protector and your allies. Sometimes the best way to offer protection is to put the enemy on the defensive. With unwavering courage, you throw yourself among your foes and strike them down. You gain the Valiant Strike power. So Valiant Strike is, once again, an at-will ability. This is actually a weapon attack. So instead of just the basic weapon attacks for ranged or melee, you can use this one here and get the benefit of the, which one was it there? The Righteous Radiant or the Holy Smite. You gain the benefit of the Holy Smite as well. So this is a standard action, melee weapon, one creature. It is a strength attack versus their armor class. And you gain a bonus on the attack roll equal to the number of enemies adjacent to you. So again, you're drawing enemies to you and you're getting benefits from that. If you hit, you deal 1 weapon die plus your strength modifier, and at level 21, it increases to 2 weapon dice plus your strength modifier to damage. So it is effectively a basic melee attack with the benefit of adding extra bonuses to hit equal to the number of people adjacent to you. So even if it's just the one enemy that's adjacent to you, you still get an extra +1 to hit. But if you're like surrounded, and this is great, especially in 4th edition, because you have minions, which are small 1 hit point troops that are meant to be like disposable fodder that like to swarm things anyway. So if you jump into the middle of a whole bunch of minions, then you're getting a whole big bonus on your attack rolls and to help you deal with them. And then at level 1, you also get a virtue at will power. So again, this will be based on the virtue that you choose. At level 2, you get Restore Vitality. So this is effectively like the Lay on Hands. Your faith and dedication to your virtue purify your spirit, allowing you to perform divine miracles. You can now restore health to your allies while purging poisons or other ills from them. So this is a daily ability. It is a utility power. It is divine and healing. It's a minor action, meaning that you could do this and still make an attack in the same round if you needed to. The range has to be someone adjacent to you. It is 1 creature. The target regains hit points equal to your healing surge value and can make a saving throw. So this is actually kind of a unique ability in that a lot of the healing in 4th edition uses the target's healing surges and actually consumes one for like the healing. So they actually have to have a healing surge available in order to gain the benefit. Now this one, they actually gain healing back as if they got a healing surge from the Paladin's amount, and the Paladin doesn't actually have to spend a healing surge in order to use this ability. It is a daily, so I kind of get like why they chose that route, but it's still kind of cool that they went in that direction. So at level 3, you also gain extra Holy Smite, so you can use the Holy Smite 1 more time per encounter, but you can still only use it once per round, or once per turn, I should say. And then you get the ability score increases. You can increase 2 ability scores of your choice by 1. At level 4, and again, we're not going to go over everything here. We'll just take a look at this page, and then we'll move on to the actual virtues. But at level 4, they get Pace of the Virtuous Charger. So the first virtuous chargers were magic steeds that served the gods during the Dawn War. The Dawn War being an event where the gods battled the elemental primordials to see like who would become the dominant force through like the cosmos, the D&D cosmos. And in standard D&D settings, the gods won and the primordials were defeated. In like the Forgotten Realms, for example, what ended up happening was it was kind of a stalemate. Where the world was split into 2 different realities that occupied the same point in space at the same time, just in different realities. And one was Abier, and the other was the world of Toril. In Abier, the primordials were the dominant force, and in Toril, the gods were the dominant force. So a little bit of extra knowledge or extra lore, I guess, for 4th edition there. These loyal steeds carried angels and powerful mortal cavaliers into battle against the primordials and their servants, and their spirits continued to roam the astral domains. You impart a fraction of the spirit of the great virtuous chargers of ancient times into any creature ridden by you or an ally. So while you're riding a mount, that creature and each allied mount within 20 squares or 100 feet, because each square is 5 feet, gain a +2 power bonus to speed, so an extra 10 feet of speed per round. And this applies only outside of combat, so again, more for like overland travel or maybe some sort of escape sequence. But again, that's pretty cool, and it's just an active ability that's always there. It's not something that you have to trigger and worry about like how many times you get to use it. It's just always there. So I think that's actually really, really cool. And then level 5, you get some smite abilities, which become daily powers. But they get to add some extra like additional stuff to them. Like, for example, you got the chilling smite, which does, if you hit, it is 3 weapon dice plus your strength modifier, all in cold damage, and the target takes a -5 penalty to damage rolls with a saving throw end. So the way that save end abilities work, or saving throws in 4th edition, it's similar to what a flat check is in Pathfinder 2nd edition, where you're simply rolling a d20 and you're looking to get a certain number or above, and you don't typically add things to those types of rolls. With saving throws in 4th, if you roll a 10 or better on the d20, then whatever effect that you are suffering from can end. So in this case, the target gets -5 to damage rolls, but at the end of each of their turns, they get to roll a d20, and if they roll a 10 or higher, then that goes away. But you're still giving them a penalty for at least one set of actions, which is kind of neat. And if you miss, because it's daily power, even if you miss, you still deal half the damage of that 3 weapon dice plus strength modifier, and they take a -5 penalty damage rolls until the end of its next turn. So instead of saving, it just automatically ends. And then they also get the fiery smite, so that was chilling smite, and the fiery smite is just 3 weapon dice plus strength modifier as fire damage, half damage for if you miss with the attack. But the effect is each enemy adjacent to the target also takes 5 fire damage. So if you're attacking somebody that has like allies in adjacent to him, each of them will take 5 points of damage as well. So again, really, really cool stuff. Then you also get to improve things like your righteous shield, allowing you to do it an additional time, it gains an additional effect associated with your virtue. So we'll take a look at those again as well. But yeah, just really, really cool stuff. And then we've got the Valiant Cavalier as the 11th level version of the character. They get the Valiant Cavalier's action. So you gain the benefit associated with their virtue. They get virtuous health. So the chosen virtue guides you in many of your choices. It remains a guiding ideal whenever you face important decisions in your life. The benefit is you get a +2 bonus on saving throws. So again, you don't normally add stuff to that, so that's pretty good. It means you only need to roll an 8 or higher to end most things. And you also gain an immunity to diseases of your level or lower. So that's pretty cool. Beacon of Virtue, you gain an additional encounter ability based off of your Valor. So we're going to take a look at those now. We're just going to kind of skip over the rest of the characters. When you get to epic levels, the epic characters, most of their abilities are based off the epic destiny that you choose. And that's each of these books had one to sort of go with. But again, some really cool stuff. And let's take a look at the virtue of sacrifice. So, the virtue of sacrifice still requires that the Cavalier be lawful good. So I think I had mentioned that alignment restrictions on the Paladins was pretty much at an end, but that's not actually the case yet with the 4th edition Essentials Paladin, because the virtue tells you which alignments that you have to be. So if you are the Paladin, the Cavalier of Sacrifice as your virtue, you have to be lawful good. Only the most honorable Cavaliers embrace that particular path. At level 1, they get the Spirit of Sacrifice, so you gain an additional healing surge on your normal pool. In addition, you can use your Second Wind as a minor action to heal an ally of your choice within 5 squares or 25 feet of you. If you do so, you gain no additional benefit from using your Second Wind, but the ally regains hit points equal to his or her healing surge value. So Second Wind, I think, is an encounter ability that everybody gets. and they get to use it again like once per encounter. It just allows them to spend a healing surge, but I think they also get a +1 bonus to each of their defenses as well. So with this one, you forego healing yourself, but you get to heal somebody within 25 feet of you. They don't get like the extra bonuses to their defenses, but they do get to spend the benefit of your second wind. So or they get their own healing surge value, but again, they get healing as if they had spent a healing surge, but they don't actually have to spend their own healing surge to benefit from it. So really cool stuff. And then the at-will power is the Strike of Hope. So this is a melee weapon attack. Again, an at-will ability that will work with the smiting attacks as well. One creature, strength versus armor class. If you hit, it's one weapon die plus strength modifier, all radiant damage, and one ally within 5 squares or 25 feet of you gains temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier if the ally is bloodied. So if they're at half or fewer hit points, then the temporary hit points increase by 5. So 5 plus your charisma modifier. Pretty cool stuff. And then at level 21, like most at-will abilities at level 21, it's 2 weapon dice plus your strength modifier, radiant damage with all the other effects there. At level 7, they get the improved Righteous Shield. So when you use your Righteous Shield, the damage you take is reduced by 10. And then at 23rd level, the damage you take is reduced by 20. So the Divine Shield, or the Righteous Shield ability, normally you can't actually negate any of that damage. However, with the Spirit of Sacrifice, because you're so likely to be using that ability regularly, this version of the Paladin does actually get to reduce the damage starting at level 7. So that's pretty cool. Sacrificial Action, Valiant Cavalier Paragon Path feature. The benefit when you spend an action point to take an extra action, you can also spend a healing surge as a free action. You regain no hit points for doing so, but each ally within 5 squares or 25 feet of you regains hit points equal to your level. So again, all allies within 25 feet of you get at minimum 11 hit points back as a free action. So again, pretty cool stuff. It's sort of an improvement again on like the lay on hands type of thing. It's an aura, or a radius effect, I should say. Really, really cool stuff. At level 11, you get the Beacon of Sacrifice as an encounter ability. This is a close burst 1, and it targets each enemy in the burst. So close burst 1 means that it's you as the center, and it goes out to each square adjacent to you. Because it's a 1. If it was close burst 2, then it would be for 2 squares in all directions adjacent to you, or 10 feet. In this case, it's everybody that's adjacent to you or anybody within 5 feet of you. You make a strength versus armor class attack, and you get 2 weapon dice plus strength modifier radiant damage. And the effect, so that's like just for the attack roll, but the effect is sort of the icing on the cake here. You can choose to take 10 damage. This damage ignores your immunities and resistances, and if you do so, each ally within 2 squares of you gains resistance 10 to all damage until the start of your next turn. So again, the sacrifice is very strongly themed here, so you can actually drain your own life, take your own life energy, and turn it into a shield for your allies, and I think that's pretty cool. At level 12, they get the Banner of Sacrifice. This is a utility ability. It is a daily, and it is an aura and healing. It's a minor action to use, and you activate an aura too, so it goes from you and then 2 squares out in all directions. That lasts until the end of the encounter, so you don't have to worry about durations there. Whenever you take 20 or more damage from a single attack, each bloodied ally within the aura regains 5 hit points. So again, you got to take quite a bit of damage for that to take effect. But you're getting into levels where that might be a possibility. So if you do, the benefit is your allies that might be weakened at this point get some healing back. And again, just for free, just for you getting hit. So there you go. And then at level 20, they get the Burden of Sacrifice. So this is a daily attack. For a 20th level character, it is a standard action, a melee attack, 1 creature, strength versus armor class. If you hit, it deals 5 weapon dice plus your strength modifier and radiant damage. So again, if you're like attacking with a longsword, I think our longsword's a D10. No, I think greatswords are a D10. Like if you're dealing like a D8 for your weapon, that'd be 5d8 plus your strength modifier, all radiant damage, half damage even if you miss. And the effect is for each ally you choose within 25 feet of you, you can spend a healing surge, but you regain no hit points. Instead, that ally regains hit points equal to your healing surge value. If you spend at least one healing surge this way, you gain resist 10 to all damage until the end of the encounter. So again, a good reason to sacrifice your own healing surges, heal your allies, and make it harder to damage you in the future. And then level 22, they get shared sacrifice. So this is a minor action. It is an aura. So an aura 5 that lasts until the end of the encounter. Whenever you or an ally in the aura would spend a healing surge, you or an ally in the aura can lose a healing surge on that character's behalf so that he or she doesn't have to spend their own. So again, just part of like the sacrifice thing there. Pretty cool abilities, I have to say. And then we've got the Virtue of Valor. So with the Virtue of Valor, alignment, you have to be lawful good, good, or unaligned. So there were no neutral alignments in 4th edition D&D, but the Valor Paladin had a lot more flexibility in what their alignment could be, because they're not sacrificing themselves, they're just being brave, and to be brave, you can be good, lawful good, or even unaligned. So the Spirit of Valor for level 1, you gain a +4 bonus to initiative checks, and to your healing surge value increases by 2. That's just a thing that's just always going to be in effect, which I think is really cool. At level 1, they also get the Vengeful Strike power. So it is a melee attack at will. So your strike or your smite ability can work with this one in tandem. Strength versus armor class, 1 weapon hit plus strength modifier radiant damage. If at least one bloodied ally is within 25 feet of you, the target takes radiant damage equal to your charisma modifier. So basically, you're attacking on behalf of that wounded ally. If they're like really badly beat up, then you can use that to fuel your attack and deal extra damage to the target that you're attacking. And if you miss, this is one of the rare things, again, with at-will abilities, because most of them don't have a miss entry here. But if you miss, you get a +2 power bonus to your next damage roll against the target. So even if you miss, you still get a benefit on a future attack, which is really cool. The improved Righteous Shield for the Valor Cavalier. When you use your Righteous Shield, you also gain a bonus to your next damage roll before the end of your next turn. The bonus equals 2 plus your charisma modifier. At 23rd level, it goes up to 5 plus your charisma modifier. So you absorb some damage for somebody else, and you use that to fuel your attacks against enemy targets there. So again, really cool stuff. The Beacon of Valor for level 11, the Paragon feature. So Beacon of Valor, it is an encounter ability. It is a standard action. It is a close burst 1. So each enemy that's within 5 feet of you or that's adjacent to you. Strength versus armor class, and you can do 2 weapon dice plus your strength modifier and radiant damage, and the target is immobilized until the end of your next turn. The effect for this also when you do the attack is each ally within that same burst gets a +2 power bonus to attack rolls until the end of your next turn. At level 12, they get the Banner of Valor. So this is a utility ability. It's an aura. When you activate it, it's an aura 2. So everyone within 2 squares of you or within 10 feet. Lasts until the end of the encounter. Whenever you hit an enemy with an attack, each ally in the aura gains a +2 power bonus to attack rolls and all defenses until the end of your next turn. So armor class, fortitude, reflex, and will defenses, they get a +2 power bonus to all those. At level 20, they gain the Burden of Valor. So this is a daily attack. Single target, melee weapon, strength versus armor class, 5 weapon dice plus strength modifier radiant damage. On a miss, you still deal half that damage, and the effect is you gain a +2 power bonus to attack rolls against the target, and the target takes a -5 penalty to attack rolls against all creatures other than you. This effect lasts until the end of the encounter or until the end of your turn without having attacked the target during the turn. And then at level 22, they get Shared Valor. So this is a free action, a close burst 5, so any a target within 5 squares of you. The trigger is you and your allies roll initiative, so this is at the beginning of the encounter usually. The target is you and each ally within 25 feet of you in all directions, so that's pretty good. Each target gains temporary hit points equal to 15 plus your charisma modifier. In addition, you can teleport each target up to 10 squares to a square adjacent to an enemy. So that's a pretty sweet ability there. Again, you're level 22, so you're in the epic levels at that point. But just to be able to reposition pretty much all of your allies so that they can just like be right up against their enemies and get extra hit points to have the encounter with. Pretty sweet ability. So overall, that was the Paladin class from the Heroes of the Forgotten Kingdoms book for D&D Essentials. And I like the Cavalier a lot more than just the standard Paladin from the hardcover. Again, the hardcover character classes are okay. They have a lot of like really good abilities, but you're kind of piecing stuff together yourself and trying to forge a theme based off of that. Whereas with the Essentials books, the characters are so strongly themed with their like abilities and stuff like that. But there's still options. There's still choices sort of within the character class. The Paladin doesn't have the most freedom of like choosing their abilities, but they get some pretty sweet abilities for that. I think of the two, I personally prefer the sacrifice valor more, or the sacrifice more than the valor. Like the abilities there, just because when I play a Paladin, I tend to be that sort of self-sacrificial character anyway, which has cost me my Paladin characters in the past. But I think I prefer that version a little bit more. But the Valor Paladin is fantastic as well. And that last ability, again, is really great for controlling sort of the battlefield there. So a really, really cool class. And yeah, the Heroes of the Forgotten Kingdoms Paladin, in my opinion, is a far more interesting class than the hardcover version that we had with the release of 4th edition initially back in 2008, which is like 18, 16 years. It was a while ago. I haven't had coffee yet, so my ability to do math is really bad. I was also up super late. I shouldn't say I was up super late, but I woke up a few times throughout the night because my wife had to take a flight from Halifax to Prague for a work trip, and I wanted her to contact me when she got off each leg of the flight so that I knew she was okay, and it helped me sleep a little bit until the next flight that she ended up taking. But anyway, that notwithstanding, that was the 4th edition version of the Paladin class. There's only 2 videos left to go in this series currently, which is the 5th edition D&D Paladin and the Champion class from Pathfinder 2nd edition. When the Player Core 2 comes out in the summer of 2024, I will be doing an additional video for that version of the Champion class as well. See how different it might be when that core book comes out. But for now, only 2 videos left in this series. Let me know in the comments below, did you play the Essentials version of the Paladin class? And if so, what were your memories of it? Which of the did you take Valor or did you take Sacrifice for your tenants? What were some of the things, the encounters that you had with those? What were some of the uses of those specific abilities that stand out in your mind? Let me know all that in the comments below. Thank you all so very much for watching. I appreciate it as always. Until next time, take care.